Talk's friendly little proletariat uprising. America's first competition talk show. You're in the hub.
What if we did away with the X-ray machine altogether, okay? You step in the booth, and it doesn't X-ray you. It just detonates any explosive device that you're hiding on your person or in any orifice. The way this works is, you think about it, no more profiling, no more anything. It does away with the problem right there. You hear little things come over the PA system saying, clean up in booth 4, and Flight 4665 has an open seat. What do you think, Barry?
I think, it's a good idea, but I'm thinking let's key this into deficit reduction as well.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, we have this inspection. There's inspection needed. Why don't we get the inspectors to be like the girls from the Cheetah Club? And you can go through the machine scanner, but if you want to have the pat down, you got to pay for it. So it's like $5-10 for a pat down, and see how many people say, "Oh yeah, I'd like a pat down." One of my friend's mom said, I don't want to fly. I just want to go through that pat down thing about 23 times.
Yeah. Well, what was it? Who was it? Barbara Wawa or somebody said last week they actually it was the first time they didn't felt like that in a long time, and that was nice for them. But and that's the kind of thing. We're trivializing it a little bit, but this is really dominating the national dialogue a lot here lately, and especially last week with everything going on with the holidays. I think it's only going to ratchet up over the next couple weeks. Do you think it just comes to a head before the end of the month, Sarah?
Absolutely. With more people traveling, with Christmas coming as well, more and more people are going to feel violated.
By Christmas Day or Hanukkah?
Both.
They close.
Both.
Really?
Yeah, sure. Why not? People travel for Hanukkah too, right?
Yeah, true. They travel more. They have more days to travel.
Don't forget Kwanzaa.
And Kwanzaa.
We have to be equal opportunity.
You're right,
here.
because we're love. It's all about love. Okay. There's something else that I had to throw out, because this was something that really hasn't hit the radar a lot lately, but the administration, just in the last few weeks, while just before going home just before the Congress went home for the break for the elections in early November, the administration was floating a deal with Saudi Arabia to provide $60 billion worth of military armaments, U.S. military armaments, to the Saudi royals, to the family of Saud, and this has really been off the radar. There was a congressional inquiry that said, this is not a good idea. This is the largest selling of armaments internationally in U.S. history, $60 billion. They are moving forward with it now, despite all the claims to the contrary. And the WikiLeaks guy comes out last week, right? And he's releasing all these documents. One of these things is revealing that apparently the Saudi royal family has been calling for the ousting of President Ahmadinejad for a long time in Iran. So, is this World War I, World War II all over again? Let's just play defense and let's just supply from a distance, stay out of it. No. Is that going to work? What do you think, Barry?
No, I think this is a smart move, first of all, because what's really happened is the region has been destabilized because of sort of the fall of Iraq, which kept Iran in check for centuries. And now the other Arab states, you got to realize there's Arab states and there's Iran, which is Persian. So they've been at each other's throats for a long time, and they now feel the need to have more security. The Saudis are going to get this, whether it's from us or whether it's from somebody else. If you go back and look in the 80s, what you would see is the French selling everybody and their grandmothers defense systems, and our country sort of lost out. So I think it's smart for us to do this. At $60 billion is basically going to create 40,000 jobs for the next 15 years. It will be our military, our equipment. It strengthens our ties with them. We give them money for defense anyway. We give Saudis, I think, about $3 billion a year. So some of that money is going to be buying our equipment instead of buying French Mirage jets or whatever they have now.
Yeah.
But what's essentially happened is we've moved the front lines from the Iraq-Iran border to the border with the other Arab countries because Iraq is no longer able to defend itself against Iran.
I'm still hung up on Soviet grandmas developing missile defense systems in their kitchen.
Babushkas.
Is that
the babushka missiles?
Okay. Hey,
yeah,
it gets them on a plane, right? Sarah, I mean, one of the things Secretary of Defense Robert, who was it? Who was it said it recently? Defense Secretary Robert Gates said, "We have this 6 decades long relationship with the Saudi government. If that's not enough to make you feel good about selling armaments, nothing ever will be." And I'm sitting here thinking, when you have a fundamental ideological difference for your very reason for existence as two nations, is it really a question of time? Is there really any amount of time that says, okay, now I feel legitimate about you, you're safe?
I mean, it can be and it can't be. I mean, think about World War II. We weren't in good relationships with Japan at the time, and now look, our two nations we're close. We're good friends. We're allies, and so things can change. But really, my biggest issue is how they're pushing this through in Congress. You know, just kind of letting it float by and hoping that no one picks it up. I thought this administration was supposed to be about transparency, about, you know, not hiding things. They're trying to slide this under the radar so that no one sees it. To me, that's a bigger issue that we need to talk about.
Yeah, well, see, what I'm getting at is, I mean, these reports that we get all the time about something like $87 billion that the Saudi royal family has spent on really propaganda for Wahhabist Muslim propaganda and Muslim faith and Muslim training outside of Saudi Arabia since 1973. They've been doing that for decades. So 5 of those 6 decades, roughly, they've been using the access that has been given in this relationship to propagate an ideology that most of us, I mean, if you're talking about a Wahhabist, a strictly fundamentalist view of the Muslim faith, for example, and they are influencing literally U.S. schools now, their own universities at the K through 5th grade level with this kind of material in social studies and history class courses. Doesn't that become dangerous at some point? Because I honestly don't know how a nation that was built on fundamental principles of liberty, which is freedom, you know, the rights of mankind, natural law, and that all men are created equal, meshes with a religious, almost a theocracy type of form of government model that says some are better than others.
But there's, I don't know that that's absolutely true. The other thing I would say is we had certainly an alliance with the Russians, certainly during World War II, when they wanted to more or less do us in, and the only thing that was stopping them was, oh, there's these Nazis here. We got to, you know. So it's like
and Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones,
yeah.
And
don't forget him.
And now they're our allies, and now they're helping us in the war on terror, and they're important allies in the war on terror, and so things change, and I think there are. Particularly when you talk about defense needs, that gets a very different perspective than if you're talking about sort of philosophical needs. And people will compromise. Compromise may not be the best word, but we will cooperate with somebody who may not be in line with us philosophically if we have mutually similar defense requirements, and we want to do that.
Well, and we're kind of heeing and hawing back and forth. We said, you know, earlier this month we get this tip from the Saudi government that allows us to
was a good
foil. It was a good tip. It was, allowed us to foil a would-be terrorist attack back in November. But I have to sit here and think, is this not what we did with Iraq all over again? For decades, like you were saying, we're selling military equipment to the Saddam Hussein regime to go at the Iranians, and then
actually we did the opposite. We sold it to Iran. Until the Shah fell in '79.
Well, okay,
they were our biggest ally.
After the Shah fell and everything. Yeah, we had a great relationship before '79 with the Shah. After that, not so hot.
Well,
and that's when we started shoveling at Hussein. And then we come back. We created our own problem, created our bed. Now we sleep in it. Is this a repeat of that sort of thing?
Seems like it. Seems like it could. Also comes to mind of if President Bush were still in office, how many people would be out there saying, "Is this about oil?" Because Saudi Arabia is sitting on so much oil, and that's a resource that we here in the United States use more than anybody else in the world.
More than water. If we could drink it, we would.
I know.
But we have that in Alaska.
You know,
but we can't do anything about it there.
Well, at this point, because we got kooks running the show. We'll see you tomorrow on the Hub.